Hello. Hello, everyone. Hello, Azam June. Hello, Mary. Hello, Manson. Good to see all of you here. I am back home from Hawaii, day one, starting 2021. I'm extremely excited because this year is going to be one of the most amazing year ever. As we all know, the energy of manifestation, it's here. So I'm sure all of you guys who have been following me so far are working on your goals, and I am expecting to receive a lot of comments and engagement to know how you guys are doing. I'm going to be investing a lot of time on my English channel so we can all get ahead and move on. This is the year to manifest whatever we wish or desire. Hello everyone. I'm also going live on Facebook. Hi Parvon June. Hi Afsan. Hello Floren. Good to see you. The topic today is ADHD and we're having a guest. So I'm just going to wait for our guest. I started a little bit earlier so we can all join and say hello. And good morning, Soila John. I'm not accepting join live at the moment because I have a guest coming in. But you're more than welcome to write down your question. And please, let's keep it into the subject, which is ADHD. Okay. So, let me know. Hello, Parisa June. Hello, everyone. Soon, those of you guys who are on Facebook, let me know how you have started your new year. I need to know if you have all planned. We have set our intention for 2021, and if we are really clear about our goals and the steps that we're taking. I was thinking, guys, yesterday as I was flying back to LA, I was thinking that I want to add up to my goals for 2021. And I want to get on my best top shape that I have ever been. As you guys know, I have been a personal trainer for over 30 years. Yes. And you know that I have created many DVDs on exercise. I have over 16 exercise DVDs and dance DVDs and all that. But being very transparent, I want to let you guys know that the last couple of years, I haven't been really on my top notch with my workout because somehow I've been more engaged with work and doing a lot of coaching. So I didn't put my exercise on top of my list. It hasn't been my priority. Therefore, I have decided that I'm going to change that. And from today, I'm going to start putting, getting my physical body to the top notch, really strong, even stronger than I have ever been. So, what I was thinking today, if you guys all agree, is how about if we start a 21-day challenge to really dedicate 2021 to have our best body. And I'm not just talking about the best body in the point of just looking good, but what I mean is putting it on top notch to the point that we are strengthening our physical body to the max. I have done that in my young age. You probably have heard, yes, Awakening 21, thank you, 21. Give me a yes, guys, for those of you who want to start this challenge for the physical body? Mariam is yes. Thank you. I need more yeses from you guys. Mariam, yes. Okay. Hello, ZR. Okay. If for those of you who are late, I was telling everyone that Farhad is yes. Mitra. Last night as I was flying back to LA, I was thinking I really want to challenge myself. Of course, I'm 30 years older now, but I want to prove to myself that if I can get my mind or tame my mind to the way that operates the way I want it to, and if I can program or reprogram my mind, yeah, anything is possible. So this is a test for me. It's a comeback to where I have been 30 years ago, being really muscled up. I could jump into the cold pool in wintertime, like 6 a.m., where it was freezing and people had their winter clothes on. I had trained my mind so much that I could really do the impossible. So I thought I want to do that again, and I'm starting up a 21-day challenge on getting our body the strongest ever. All right, so let me know who else wants to join this. Whether you do it or not, guys, I am doing it. This is my mission. Mitra, okay? Yes. All right. So basically, in order for us to have really amazing strong body, as you know, we have to train the mind, right? We got to train our mind, and we got to get into subconscious mind. We got to figure out the hidden agendas from subconscious mind. Ariamo is saying, I have been following Sudi since I was 12 and I'm 33 now. Yes, 33, the magical number, higher consciousness. I'm very thrilled. I am very thrilled to have you here. So let's see what's going on Facebook. Parvana said, yes, is good. Afsun said, more positive, more aware of living in a present time, trying to look at everything from heart and soul camera. Cool. Okay. And Afsun is yes. Banafshe is yes on Facebook. You're in. Who is this? Said. Okay, beautiful. Said is in. Yes. So, anyhow, guys, let's get to the mind, our subconscious. Sajan, my guest is coming under motherhood in ADHD, right? Who is this AnnMarie? That's not my guest, is it? Let me know, Sahar. Yes. So, the mind, the ego, the right camera, we gotta get into a part that we need to work on our subconscious mind. From what we learned from previous lives was to be really caring for our inner child, the wounded inner child. So remember I said the more you pay attention to your inner child, the faster the healing will take place. So number one, remember that never ever abandon or ignore your inner child. Be fully present with your inner child the whole time, all right? And also, that's her. Okay, she has to send me another request then. Let's see. Let's see if I can get our guest to join us right now. Yes. Okay. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I am great, love. How are you?
Amazing. Thank you for having me on.
I am thrilled to have you here. For my viewers, please tell us a little bit about yourself and where you live and where you come from.
Yeah, okay. So I am AnnMarie. I am an ADHD coach for women. So I help women move through the shame and the overwhelm and everything like that they're feeling with the ADHD to a place where they're feeling a lot more love for themselves, appreciation for themselves, and I do a full transformational program. So that's a super basic version of it. But yeah, I work mostly with women. um, the reason that I got into this is kind of a bit of a story, but I hear you were talking about the inner child stuff, which is has a lot to do with my journey managing my ADHD. And yeah, right now I am living in Vancouver in Canada, which is amazing. And I was living in Australia before that, which was really fun for 8 years.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm originally from Canada and I just got back home, which is so nice, but I don't like winter.
Oh, yes, I hear you. Yeah. I actually, originally I'm Persian, but I have two nationality, Canadian and American. So I lived in Canada for a while too, but I couldn't, just like you, I couldn't stand the cold. I was like, I need warmth. Yeah. So tell me, why did you what was the journey? What took you to Australia?
I was just honestly chasing summer. I finished my diploma in architectural technologies in Calgary, where I'm from, and then I, yeah, just wanted to travel and explore. And I went to university there, and so I was there for, yeah, 8 years. I studied university there as well, Bachelor of Health Promotion. So that has helped me create the programs and services that I have right now in my course, and in my programs that I do. So yeah, it was amazing. It was so nice there. The lifestyle is so good. Have you been?
No, I have not been. I actually traveled the whole world, but I haven't been there. I was just in Hawaii, Maui. I got back last night. And it's really funny. I was just chatting up. I was swimming in the ocean, and an older gentleman, he was from New York. We would start talking, and he said to me, you are, he said, he asked me, he said, what do you do? I said, I'm a life coach. I'm an intuitive health and life coach. And then he said, yeah, you should move down here to Maui because this is the place for you. And you travel the whole world and you come up with a lot of money, so it would be very easy for you to buy something here. And I said, how did you gather all this information in a few minutes? I started laughing. How do you know? He said, oh, I can tell, I can tell. It's really funny. But I was actually thinking about it, swimming in the, I mean, I'm a water lover, and swimming in the warm water, even
Oh
early
yeah.
morning, like 5, I would walk the ocean, and the water from the ocean was so warm. And I was like, yes. And they so backed up, and lifestyle is so much easier. It's just like, people are very kind and everybody's smiling. And a lot of people, Canadian people, have also moved there. I heard a lot of people speaking French from Montreal, and I chat with them, and they're like, "Yeah, we love it down here. The weather is beautiful, it's very kind." So, anyhow, I'm telling you this. Maybe you want to make a trip to Maui.
Sign me up. I love Hawaii. I would move there in a heartbeat. I'm thinking
Yeah,
maybe Mexico in like April or May for a few months, but yeah.
yeah. Cool. So let's get into our topic today. Tell me, because I wasn't really diagnosed as a child from ADHD, because I was born in Iran, and it wasn't very common in my time, right? But later on, I got diagnosed with OCD. But I after I studied psychology myself, I knew it was very clear. So what was your experience? How did you even find out that you have ADHD?
Yeah, so I actually, from a very young age, when I was like 10 or 12, my mom saw that, I had some characteristics of not being able to comprehend stuff. I was really bad with like listening skills, and You know, I would obsess over the things that I wanted to do. Like I would spend hours on the things that I like doing. And yeah, I was kind of a little bit of a troublemaker in school too, because I was just very disengaged from the stuff that I didn't like. So yeah, my auditory and comprehension and stuff was really low for what grade I was in. So I went and got tested by a psychologist when I was probably 10 or 12. And then from that point on, I was on medication. I was in like the special math class and English classes, which made me feel at the time so stupid. Like, because all my friends were like, well, where are you going? Why are you writing a test in another room? Why are you, you know, leaving and doing all this stuff and getting extra support? And why can you use your calculator in math? Because I was also diagnosed with dyslexia then as well. So yeah, there was a lot of shame that I held around it, and a lot of masking to try and hide how I was feeling. And, you know, I created like mechanisms to protect myself when I was younger, and my inner child that was like sad about what was going on. So that is kind of how I did that. And then I got tested once more before I went to my first university program. I hated getting tested. I think it's for a lot of people necessary to get tested, but I hated the process because it's very much, they focus on what's wrong with you and what you're not good at. So yeah, I got tested again in university so that I could get extra support in classes and stuff. And then I got tested again when I went to Australia in university so that I could still continue to get support. So all of the tests came back. I definitely have ADHD. So yeah.
Then what was your next step? I mean, how long were you on medication, and what medication were you on?
I was on medication for probably maybe like 16 years or something like that. I only just recently took myself off of them. Yeah, because I was getting really weird side effects. I used them a lot throughout university, and they helped me so much in university. And I think they actually really helped me get a baseline of what my day can look like productive when I'm focused. So yeah, I think as well, the best way to manage ADHD is having intense self-awareness, like really knowing about yourself and connecting with your intuition and listening to your gut when it's telling you something's not right, or if a strategy you've tried isn't working for you. It's just checking in and listening to yourself and saying, okay, did I like that or did I not like that? So over the years, because I've been diagnosed for so long, I had the strategies to actually, I don't need the medication anymore because I know myself so much. I know what makes me go. I know what makes me triggered. I know what doesn't work for me. So yeah, I was on it for, yeah, probably about 16 years or something like that.
16 years, wow. But, and how many medication were you on?
I was only on, well, only one at a time. Like I'd only be on one medication for ADHD at a time. So I tried a bunch of different kinds of it, such as Ritalin, dexamphetamine, Adderall. Yeah, I can't remember all of them, but yeah, I tried various ones over the years. Yeah.
Okay. So how is your life different now that you're off medication and you chose a different path to go about it, which was being aware, constantly being aware, and by being aware, you mean like you are fully present in every moment, right? You see what's going on. You're more in touch and in tune with yourself.
Totally. Yeah. Like over the years, I guess when I first started the medication, I didn't really understand myself. I didn't understand kind of what was going on in my body. And so I always tell people when they're reading resources and stuff, make sure to think about it really critically, like make sure to see which actually applies to you and which doesn't. But I was on medication for all that time. And then kind of coming off of it, I had just learned a lot about myself, and so it allowed me to transition off of it. I wouldn't say I'm like present all the time in every moment. I try my absolute hardest to be when I can. One of my triggers actually is getting absorbed in my work and not taking a break. And then by the time the day is over, I'm like, that was way too much anxiety. I didn't actually stop. So I know for myself, I have to stop The Pomodoro method is something I use some days. If I have a lot to get done, it's 25 minutes of work, 5 minutes of rest, so that I actually stop and pull myself away, sit down for a second, literally just staring at nothing, just to kind of reground myself and be very intentional about how I am operating in my day. So, yeah, being intentional is probably the most important thing. So for me.
So, what is your blood type, if I may ask? Do you know what your blood type is?
Be positive.
B positive. Okay. So because I'm a nutritionist also, I find out during this past 40 years that the food that you're allergic to, as according to your blood type, because I'm a B positive too, like you.
Okay. Yeah.
But when I studied many years ago eating for your blood type, I realized there are things like chicken or lentils that all blood T are allergic, but we call it hidden allergic food that is doesn't give you a sudden reaction. So are you aware of that? Do you think what you eat has an effect on your ADHD or the release of the chemicals in your brain?
Yeah. So sorry, did you say that B chicken for B type is not good?
No, it's not good. And
That is
generally, it's really funny. Like for instance, blood type O. So I have noticed all I can tell you 100% of blood type O are allergic to gluten, right? And I have found out over the years that blood type O are much more sensitive than blood type AB or A or B, right? Because of that, they have a lot more anxiety. The adrenal glands is overactive, so their body is releasing a lot of cortisol. I remember it was like 30 years ago that I got someone, there was this model. She contacted me and she said that she has tried everything and she wanted me to coach her to achieve her ideal body, although she was, if you would have looked at her, you would say she's anorexic, but she had this little belly, the verge, a little belly. And as soon as I talked to her and I find out her blood type is O, I told her, I said, your adrenal gland is overactive. And are you eating anything like, as far as, she says, I have only one slice of bread with nothing on it. I said, you're allergic to gluten. And even one slice of bread is bugging you. Plus, if adrenal gland is overactive for many, many years, so you're running through your anxiety, your body releases cortisol, and then your body become acidic, and then you get water retention. And as soon as I changed that to we didn't have paleo diet. It was like, protein diet, the Atkins diets. That's you eat a lot of vegetables and proteins and fat. And we worked out a little less because working out really hard for someone who has overactive adrenal, it works against them. So I told her to slow down. We went slower. I did kind of like really for a couple of months, very light weight lifting and a lot of rest for her body to recover because her body was under so much stress. And eventually we could achieve that. But her, I think one of the most part of her achieving her ideal body weight was releasing her food allergies, because the hidden food allergies, it really affects your chemical imbalance, and it can give you depression, it can give you anxiety, it could get, and the majority of them, they're really suffering from constipation. The anxiety is so high that it's either diarrhea, but they mostly go towards constipation. So I
yeah.
just wanted to share this and see what's your thought on it. Like, food allergy can have an effect on, or whatever you eat. What do you
Yeah.
think about it?
So the reason I asked about chicken was because I actually stay away from chicken. It makes my, like, I'll eat it sometimes, but very rarely, maybe like once a quarter or something, like chicken fingers if I feel like treating myself. But it actually
Yeah.
makes my breathing really short and sharp, and I don't like it because it, yeah, shortens my breath. I always notice if I eat chicken, it does that, so I don't eat it. But I'm really in touch kind of with what sits well in my body and what doesn't. Naturally, I have always been involved in like sports and all of that. So I am massively, hugely a supporter of using exercise and eating properly to manage your ADHD. For example, if I have caffeine, I know that it gives me way more jitters. Typically, I'll get anxiety. I still have it, but I know that when I'm drinking it, okay, I need to be mindful. This is what's going to happen to me in the
Yeah.
afternoon. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but I wouldn't say I'm well versed on it. I just really listen to my body and really connect with myself, and I it's the hugest part of knowing what works for you. I eat something, or if I had a really bad day, if I'm feeling awful, well, what did I do yesterday? If I had, even I find I'm really sensitive to alcohol, even like one drink, I'll wake up the next morning and I'm like, I feel foggy. I feel almost
Yeah.
hungover. My friend's like, you only had one drink. I'm like, it doesn't take much just for me to be sensitive to it. So yeah, I definitely am in touch with it. I actually have an ADHD nutritionist coming into my group program that I'm teaching to work with us on intuitive eating, because I think it's so important. You know, a lot of people run around just eating, 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 and they don't take the time to sit down, eat, actually taste the food that you're eating, connect with the food, think about where it's come from, like how lucky we are to be eating such beautiful food. So that's a big practice of mine.
Yeah. I have noticed, like, I've been teaching breath work for many years to how to um, slow down your anxiousness through slower breath and that stuff. But I have noticed many people are don't work on their anxiousness before they sit down and have a meal. And they're actually doing the reverse. When they're anxious, they start eating something. They think eating something will calm down their nervous system, which actually, when you're so anxious, your body is releasing so much cortisol and making the environment in your body so acidic, and also so um like so much so toxic, that you shouldn't be eating. You should instead play some music. And I talked about stress and anxiety for many, many years because I was running through that program. So I was constantly educating myself and going through how I can do it. And many years ago, I realized, like, if I listen to like some classical music or some sort of meditation music while I'm eating, that changes the pattern of my eating. Versus if you playing some like really loud rock, hard rock, it just makes you anxious, and unconsciously you're chewing a lot faster, and you're not really um, paying attention to what you're eating. And I put a lot of emphasis of really chewing your food well. People don't do that. Like many years ago, 30 years ago, when I said every bite at least 20 to 30 bites, people were laughing. They were like, how is that even possible? You know, the majority of people are anxious eaters, and
Yeah.
they don't chew their food enough to use. So I've been also working to teach people to use their eating time as a meditation or meditative time, that you become fully present with each bite, that you're, as you said, you're really chewing, you're really tasting, you're really connecting to each flavor. What am I tasting right now? Is it turmeric? Is the cinnamon more overcoming? And that really brings you to mindfulness, being fully present. And by chewing your food, because remember my background, I work with a lot of people who have been suffering from being overweight. So I use this part because I said it takes 20 minutes for your body to send a message to your brain, turn on that leptin light that you are full. If you're
Yeah.
eating too fast, you're not giving that time to your body, so you're overeating. By slowing down, you feel full much faster, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think too, people with ADHD, they want to be overstimulated all day long. And I
Mhm.
used to be on my phone or messaging or texting people, and now I just stopped. I will put my phone on like the other side of the room and just sit down and tasting like the textures. You see what it actually tastes like. Did the pepper taste the same as yesterday, or does it taste a
Mhm.
little bit different? So yeah, I love that. That's really good.
So what do we do with people like I was spending some time with a friend, and I keep bringing to her awareness that you're extremely anxious. Even your presence, it's so anxious that make other people lose their serenity or not being calm. And then her excuse was that I have been operating like this for my entire life, and that's the key to my success, that I'm so successful and I could achieve, I could be. So what do you say to that?
Oh, I honestly, you're speaking to me. I used to be somebody who would operate like that all the time. My anxiety was so high. That's why sometimes I'll catch myself falling back into that. But I'm so aware when it comes up now. And especially when I was at work and having a lot of things going, I would take on too much stuff so that it would like perpetuate this really high anxiety. So I actually stopped doing that. I started living by the motto, do less, better. So when I notice my anxiety comes on, I know for a fact I've piled too much on my plate. So take some of it off. What do I really need to focus on? But I work a lot with my clients who are very high anxiety. And with the ADHD, I had one client, she was telling me that her negative thoughts in her mind were just like going crazy. She couldn't get control over anything. Her mind was always racing. And after we kind of finished working together, she was saying that, you know, I think my mind was racing so much because it was just all the negative thoughts. Like I didn't realize how they were controlling me. And I feel much more relaxed and more calm. I'm a huge supporter of silence. So the last couple of weekends, I'll sit there for 4 hours with nothing, no phone, no notebook, no music, no nothing.
Seriously, four
Yeah,
hours
yeah. I just allow my mind.
Congratulations, girl.
I know. I just allow. I do it occasionally. Sometimes I'm called to it, and when I am, I. It's probably the first 3 hours is when your mind is still going. It takes you a really long time to settle, and then in the fourth hour is when you actually start getting gifts from the universe, and you start getting downloads about amazing things. And I've written notes after I finished, and I'm like, that's brilliant. I didn't think that I would write something like that. So I sit a lot in silence now, daily, maybe, you know, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, just away from the overstimulation, because I think so many people are overstimulated all day long. They don't actually take the time to slow down, reconnect with themselves, and realize how powerful they actually are when you're not stimulated all day long.
Mhm.
So yeah, that is, it's something I work with my clients a lot on too, is just like stopping for a second, just stop the overstimulus, just sit down for a second.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We have a question: how ADHD brain is different from someone with from a normal brain cells?
Yeah. So essentially, it's just the development of the brain when you are younger and the way that the chemicals interact with each other. So somebody who has um, ADHD is typically characterized by someone who has really hyperactivity or impulsiveness, outbursts of, you know, emotions such as anger or sadness. Sometimes you can be really happy 1 minute and then the next you're really sad. And it's also characterized by people who they call it attention deficit hyperactive disorder.
Disorder.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but it's actually, you have too much attention. Like anything that kind of goes into your comes across your plate is like you'll catch on to it. So if you're cleaning the kitchen, and you know, most people at neurotypical brain would typically clean the kitchen and, you know, go on with it. But if you're got ADHD, you see something that belongs in the bedroom, you end up in the bedroom. You see something that, you know, your phone rings, and then you're on to something else. And so sometimes you had intentions of cleaning the kitchen, but you ended up out for coffee with a friend or something like that. You know, you get your attention goes to a lot of other things. So that's kind of like a basic explanation of how it works in terms of like the impulsivity. There is a part of the brain, in like a neurotypical brain, that will filter out information that is coming in, whereas people with ADHD, all the information gets through and essentially seeps in. So you have a lot that you're processing. I think people who have ADHD, the big gifts of it are having like lots of intuitive powers, or getting really in touch with your intuition, because you can see things that are happening 100 miles away, even though you're in this conversation. You're just absorbing a lot more information, because we don't have this, I guess, wall that's kind of allowing only certain things to come in that are important. We process all of it. So I think that's one of the really cool things about ADHD, is that you see things happening before they happen. Or interactions, you can tell how people interact with you. You know who's being honest and who's not, and all of that kind of stuff. So it's really cool. That was kind of a roundabout way to get there, but yeah.
Yeah, I remember the whole time as I was studying in college or university, because I was also working full time. I didn't have the advantage of coming home and study. So somehow I had this capability that when I sat and the professor was talking, I could shut down everything else and really super focus. I could even imitate the voice or the sound, because I would be so drowned. Although I had ADD, how do you think that's possible? Or is that something teachable, that we can teach someone with ADHD for some, I mean, I could have lived there and I would be 100 places, you know, but at that time, I desperately needed to be focused. So I would make myself. But is that something doable, or is it teachable?
Yeah, so I think typically people who have ADHD, they will hyper focus on something. So something that's really interesting to you, you will sit there for hours and it's like nothing else exists, because you're so focused on this thing. Which is, it's a really cool thing as well, because you can be super, super productive when you're in your zone of genius, which I think is so important. So especially people with ADHD, you need to find something that you are really genuinely passionate about, so that you can actually really, really excel. Because we don't have any interest in things that are not of interest to us. When we are focusing on things, it can definitely be done. And there are strategies that you can use, either medication or not medication, on how to focus your attention. Typically, if it's, you know, tasks that you don't like doing, it can be very exhausting sometimes. So if you can definitely force yourself to focus in, but then sometimes it's like, okay, that was really exhausting, because you had to take the time to really focus in, compared to like someone who doesn't have ADHD. So I think skills to improve your focus is being mindful of the things that you don't like, you know, creating a list of priorities. For me, I know I have to do the things that I hate doing first before I can go on to the other things, and I can reward myself with that. And then also in terms of, I guess there's different types of focus. So if for studying, for example, if you're trying to learn and absorb and comprehend, there's ways to bring in, you know, colors and pencil crayons and writing, and do drawings instead of actually writing notes. I did that for a long time, like mind maps at university. There's a bunch of kind of different strategies, I guess, in terms of the focus. But again, it comes back to being really mindful. What is it for you, you know, that was beneficial for you sitting there? Well, you maybe only had, if you were working full-time, studying full-time, you knew you only had that window. So it was like, I have to do that. So I think it's a little bit different for each each person, but those were the things that have been really beneficial to me. And also my clients have had a lot of success with being mindful, slowing down, and prioritizing.
Very well said. So basically, for people who are suffering from ADHD, if they stick to the topic or subjects that they're really interested, that would be their way to success, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's
Yeah.
actually a lot of very, very successful entrepreneurs and multimillionaires are actually people who have ADHD. And the reason that they
Yeah.
are so successful is because once you find what works for you, you can just go, and like nothing will stop you because you're so persistent. You're so yeah, people who are have ADHD are like, you know, the life of the party. They're spontaneous. They're the persistent entrepreneurs. They are sometimes a little bit impulsive and can be a little bit of a rebel. You know, for me, it was like, I can see there's another way that this can be done better, so I'm going to do it. I wasn't a very good employee. But it can also be for the people who, you know, are newly diagnosed or don't have access to resources or don't know where to find resources. Life can be hard and it can be very difficult, which is something I'm really passionate about, changing the story about ADHD, because it's not a bad thing. You just have to really know yourself, which is such a gift, because so many people in this world, you probably see this a lot too. So many people have no idea who they are. They're just walking around blindfolded, blindly from one thing to another, and they're really unhappy. So ADHD is great because you're forced to learn about yourself. You're forced to discover what works for you. You're forced to discover yourself. So yeah, I think there's two ends of the spectrum, but you 100% can be incredibly successful with ADHD, and if not, you can have you know, a one up on other people. I think it's an upgrade when you get diagnosed with ADHD. It's like, sweet, you've just been upgraded. Your brain is 100 times faster. You have ideas coming to you like crazy all the time. So yeah, that's kind of where I operate, and is changing the story about all of that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I can remember, I told you my first subject was neuroscience, and also like science of sport and nutrition and all that. I can still tell you about what I have learned 40 years ago, but a normal conversation of yesterday, I cannot recall that. So how does that affect the long-term memory and short-term memory?
Yeah, so a lot of people I talk to with ADHD, same thing. They say, I don't even remember. My friends will tell me something that happened in junior high. This happens to me too. I'm like, I have no recollection. They were like, it was your idea. I'm like, I wasn't there. I don't know. So yeah, it's quite common. I think it's just because you have, I'm not exactly sure what the science of it is, but I just think you have so much stimulus all day long that it just kind of gets filtered out. So yeah, definitely people do have memory issues with memory sometimes. One of the biggest things is actually exercise. So exercise, food and diet, actually fully taking care of yourself, taking a moment to meditate, be mindful, connect with yourself, all vastly helps, you know, your memory. And I think it's so important to take photos, write a journal about where you were, what you did, who you were with, so that you can recall, because I think photos help you take you back to that moment and start flooding your mind with everything that was kind of happening that day. So I always just thought when it was me, I forgot a lot of memories. But when I talked to other people with ADHD, I was like, oh, it must be a thing that we filter out other stuff. So yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely it definitely can be improved.
Yeah, so I'm kind of thinking that, correct me if I'm wrong, with people with ADHD, our brain is more selective to what will hold and what information. Like, for instance, for me, ordinary lifestyle, or what's the in new fashion, or where do they have sales, or what's the good brand of makeup, doesn't interest me. Therefore, if I have this conversation an hour ago and then you ask me, you said, what did she say, where's sale, I didn't, my brain doesn't contain that. So my question is, do you think people with ADHD really have more selective um, brain cells that whatever it is to their interest will hold? Doesn't matter if it's from 40 years ago, and whatever it doesn't interest them, it just the brain kind of dismiss it, even if it's like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, totally. I would completely agree with that. Yeah, I have had conversations with people before. I have to be very mindful to be in the conversation and not have any other stimulus. You know, if my roommate, she comes home and she starts talking to me and I'm on my phone, I have no idea what she just said to me. So I have to be really mindful of setting down my phone and taking that step away. Or, you know, people call me, I like it on speakerphone. It's like, okay, I can't check my messages or stuff because it pulls me away, but it's just the stimulus. Like, I'd like to be stimulated all the time. And I think your brain is looking for that stimulus. The dopamine is a big thing too. So that's why we kind of get our attention distracted, because the dopamine levels that we have are not the same as everybody else. So,
Mhm.
you know, you got to find little dopamine hits throughout the day. There was something one of my clients shared with me called the dopa menu. So it's
Mhm.
how to increase your dopamine throughout the day. If you need to take a break, to just kind of give you that hit to keep going.
I got another question for you. I have a few assistants. And one of my assistant is really funny. From the beginning, she was one of my clients. And from day one, I said to her, I said, have you ever been diagnosed with ADHD? Because you can see the way the conversation is going is like they're constantly jumping to somewhere else. And me as a coach have to gather them and bring them back again to the first. I said, let's just talk about this right now. And then she starts and then she jumps somewhere else. And I constantly have to, I said, have you ever been diagnosed with ADHD? And she says, no, but now she's very aware of it and she knows what's going on. But we run into a lot of issues daily because there are things that it comes from her genius part, right? She's very innovative. She goes by the trend. She knows a lot about social media and that stuff, but she's not expressive enough to the point that she can express herself well what she means. Do you run in is to that a lot, and what would you think the solution will be? Because she can come up with an amazing idea, but she can express herself to say, this is what I mean, and then it gets dismissed, and then she forgets after a while what she knew in the first place.
Yeah, for me, it was like writing down everything. I have to write down everything, like meetings, writing it all down, because sometimes the idea will come to me and then it's just gone. Sometimes I have always said to myself that if I've had a brilliant idea and it disappears, it's always going to find its way back to me, because it always does. It might not be in that moment, it might be the next day or a couple days later. But yeah, just writing everything down, I think, is really important. And I guess, what would be like an example of that, so I can provide a bit more context?
Yeah. So what I mean is, let's suppose that, for instance, if you come to Instagram or Facebook, you cannot follow and unfollow many people in a day. Otherwise, Instagram reads you as the algorithm reads you as a robot and it would stop you, right? So she knows that. But then she expressed that. She says to me, she says, I can do like 15 or maximum 20 people to add or follow and unfollow. And she discussed that with me. But then she doesn't, she can express herself. She doesn't clearly said, I can follow 15 or 20 people. She says very mingled up, from a mind that is mingled in a way that is like, for instance, you know, Instagram has this algorithm that can cut you out. But the main point is that if you follow and unfollow, she dismisses that. And then she follow that. She knows that's the rule for a while. And then she dismisses and she does it after a while. So that information kind of in her mind, it just disappears.
Yeah. I used to have actually this problem quite a bit with one of my managers, because I had the idea of the way something needed to go in my mind, and it was not the way that she wanted it to go in her mind. So we did have a bit of resistance there, but I think it's just important sometimes, the repetition, like it just has to be repetition, saying, you know, okay, we can't do this, we can't, let's do this, you know, just going back and circling back. Sometimes it is literally just the repetition and the reminder of somebody saying, remember this, and then eventually it's going to be like, okay, I got that, I can't do that, or whatever it is. So I think just patience and repetition in that case. And then if you're struggling to get thoughts down on paper or speak them, I would just start journaling, start writing things down, and taking just 1 second to kind of collect yourself, collect your thoughts, and really think about what you want to say before you kind of dive into a meeting or something like that. I always found it was really helpful if I knew what the meeting was going to be like. If you're having meetings or whatever, you know, if I know in advance what the meeting is about, so that I can prepare for the meeting, so that I know kind of what's coming. I have a few points of what I want to talk about, and having a notepad there. So, because if people are talking to me a lot, I won't always remember. Like in my meetings, I always have something I'm writing down so I can go back and reflect on it. Then I don't have the pressure of trying to memorize everything and staying in the conversation. I can write it down and let it go.
Mm-hmm. So would you, there are two things that I want to ask you. Um, were you really expressive? Can you really express yourself? Or at time you have problem to really say what you're trying to say?
I think in the past that was something I was dealing with for sure. Um, Not knowing kind of how to collect my words or what I wanted to say. Sometimes it would come out a little bit mumbled and jumbled, but um, I think over the time, like all the work that I've put into myself and all of that has become a lot easier for me. And the more that I went to university and did writing and practiced my writing, and having to
Mm-hmm.
actually get my thoughts out on paper was really beneficial. So when I was in elementary and high school, my mom helped me a lot through my writing stuff, because I would get very, very frustrated by it because I couldn't write. And when I went to university in Australia, I actually had like a full breakdown because I had to write papers. And it was so funny at the time because I was in the shower ugly crying when I came to the realization I had to write all these university papers. And but I went to go get extra support, and I found a way through. And I think learning how to properly write academically helped a lot of figuring out how I wanted to say things. And sometimes it felt like I was taking forever to write papers, more than my peers, because it took me a little bit longer to decipher my thoughts and navigate what was going on in my brain.
Mm-hmm. And what would be the solution for um, some of the information that skips? For instance, with her, she knows about this. She comes to tell me, bring it to my attention, but because she doesn't know how to correct, really put it together. First of all, I don't get that information, and then after a while, she forgets what she already knew, and then what can we do with that information that skips through our mind? Do you have any solution for that? Or is
Yeah,
it is it,
I
mhm.
think just writing, like getting back to putting it on
Okay.
paper, is probably the most important, like vital thing that you could do, because it's like, okay, you're just starting to write it out on paper. Like it doesn't have to make any sense to start with, but I think the biggest part is getting used to writing. And because when you write, you have to make sense of your thoughts, what's going on in your mind. So just spilling it all out on paper first, maybe it doesn't make sense, and then saying, okay, how can I come back to this and, you know, rewrite it in a different way or something like that. So I think it's just practicing those skills, or asking maybe different questions, to maybe jog memory or something like that. Like if she wrote down a couple words or something, and then she was thinking, oh, it's not really coming back to me, then okay, that's okay, it'll come back later. And just allowing I always say just allow your brain to operate as it needs to operate, you know. Yes, sometimes thoughts are going to come and they're going to go, but it's okay. It's all going to come back to you in time, and just having the patience with yourself to work through the thoughts that are coming to you, and having patience to understand and navigate what you're trying to say. I used to get really frustrated, like super frustrated, because I couldn't say what I wanted to say. Um,
Yeah.
and I think it just developed over time with having patience and just saying, okay, this isn't coming to me right now, and this seems like you know, you hear of writers writing books and they're like, I just couldn't get anything out on paper, and it's just let something, just start typing something and it'll start going. So I think, yeah, having the patience with yourself and writing everything down is so important.
Mm-hmm. So wouldn't you say that most people lack the discipline of, because I have told her that from the beginning. I said, keep writing it, and then the next day, keep writing it again. And then every day before you start your work, go through all those things. Number one, I have to keep in mind this and that. But she managed to do it for a few days and then it skips again. So would you say that people with ADHD also have issues with discipline or self-discipline, or no?
Um, it's with motivation. People sometimes will come across as if they're lazy, but they're not. It's something that's quite common in the literature, because either sometimes they're overwhelmed by everything that they have to do, or they just have overstimulus and they're like, I can't do that, or they're just not interested. And it can also have to do with dopamine. So I think it's really important. Breaks like are so important in work. You know, we can't just sit there. This goes for everybody, but especially people with ADHD. You can't just sit there from 9 a.m. until 12:30 or 1 o'clock, no break. You know, you have to be able to get up and walk around and take your mind out of it for a second and then come back. So that's why I use the Pomodoro method. Have you heard of it?
No. What
Yeah.
is that?
So it's essentially you do 25 minutes of intense work, and then you stop for
Hmm.
5 minutes.
Right.
And then you do
Okay.
that
Yeah.
a maximum of 4 times through. And then once you get to the fourth time, you got to take half an hour, 20 minutes away, and then do it again. So I find it's quite helpful for me if I'm really busy. So
Hmm.
it just allows your brain the space to disengage for a second, like, you know, just going literally outside, getting some sun and walking back in the door or something like that. Because it can help you get back into it.
Yeah, yes. I just didn't know what it caused, but I have been always promoting that. I said because of my background of, as a trainer, I would say when you're sitting down, when you have a sort of job that, especially if it require you to sit down, after every hour or 2 hour maximum, take 5 minutes break and try to move around, like shake your body, do a few jumping jack, take a deep inhale and exhale. Because I remember when I was studying, like I told you, because I didn't have time afterward, so I would eat in the class, and then for in my lunch break, I would use that hour for walking, and then I would get my brain to repeat what the teacher was saying, so it would really sink in. But I was walking and I would inhale and exhale, and I would get a lot of oxygen. So when I would get back, the majority of people were at snack shop. They were getting their fourth or fifth coffee to stay awake, or they were getting a candy bar. But I would use that time as exercising and moving around and getting fresh air and inhaling and exhaling. Now, here's the deal. Coming back to this thing. So my question was regarding the discipline. Do you think, because in order for me to sit down every day and reread what I have to remember, or that platform that I have to keep, this requires a discipline, right? So people with ADHD, do you think they have that discipline, or the one of the issue is the majority of time that they come up as lacking self-discipline and being a little more playful and just skipping things. What do you think about that?
I think people with ADHD can be incredibly disciplined for sure. I know, like, again, back to the successful
So
entrepreneurs,
they are disciplined?
can be very disciplined, but I think it stems from your ability to be disciplined comes from a high self-esteem and high self-worth. So when the motivation is kind of lacking for that, typically what I have seen is that there's either some self-esteem issues going on or other things in their lives that are kind of taking them away and pulling them away from being in, that zone. So I probably didn't get really disciplined until university, and then kind of meandered a little bit. And then now I'm a lot more disciplined because I run my own business. But I think
so are you saying this could also be something age effective? Like as we get older, we become more responsible?
Yeah, I actually teach in my program the unglamorous part of responsibility and what that looks like. So I think it's not just necessarily for people with ADHD. I see a lot of other people who struggle with general direction in their lives. But yes, ADHD can compound that if you're not using the right strategies to increase your self-worth, your self-esteem, and understand that. Because a lot of times if they're struggling with comprehension, they are there's other things going on in the background, the negative thoughts of, oh, I can't do it, I'm not good enough, all of this kind of stuff that goes on with that. So I think that is a huge contributor to allowing someone to be disciplined.
Mm-hmm. Now my next this is my next question. Do you think education has something to do with it? Like if we are, I mean, for me, I never studied till high school. I kind of had that, I don't know where it came from. I kind of managed to play around. I was in volleyball team. I owned the volleyball team, and because I was so hyperactive, I couldn't stay in the class, and the teacher, they always let me go. Otherwise, I would have been distracting everybody else, right? So I never studied till high school. But like you said, after that, I really became good at studying and putting myself, because I had a mission and a goal, and I promised myself that I'm going to be self-provider. So I knew what my plan was, but I never stopped studying. I mean, it was one degree after another. Would you say if we're constantly educating ourselves, that could be helpful versus someone who doesn't have any academic education?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think just always learning and always expanding your mind and challenging your mind is so important. It doesn't necessarily have to be academic, in university or anything like that. There's a million other ways that you can learn and stay involved in learning, whether it's through just learning, like reading a lot of books, applying it, being very critical. To, I think the most powerful way for me has been being a part of communities and group coaching programs and connecting with other like-minded people who are going in the same direction as me. Has been really important in my growth and my transformation, and same with my clients. A lot of them will come to me really overwhelmed, exhausted, tired, scattered, and then we create this awesome community that's really supportive of everybody and not judgmental, to allow them to come in and start to thrive as themselves, and not being so judgmental towards themselves and others. So I think ongoing education is massively, massively important. And I think we're coming to an age in the world where we're starting to see more programs and online stuff starting to emerge, which is fantastic, because I think also you don't have to go to university for everything. I think it's very important. And I learned so much stuff about myself and became really educated because of going to university, and it played a huge part. But the way the world's going and things are changing, if you are just, you know, immersed into one community or following one person, and kind of getting involved in that way is another really awesome way to grow yourself and learn and educate and maintain that.
Yes. So I was thinking, if we constantly educate ourselves, as you said, it doesn't have to be academic, it could be anything. Somehow indirectly, we are giving a direction to our brain, or daily, not be, maybe we're not even conscious, but subconsciously, we're giving a more clear platform to our brain that you need to be focused. You
Yeah.
need to be focused. And little by little, we're strengthening that muscle of the brain even.
Yeah, absolutely. And just learning about what you like and what you don't like, and exploring different avenues to, yes, be focused and be disciplined. I think the more that I actually learn and the more that I immerse myself into other programs and courses by other coaches, is the more that I have more drive, the more I am more driven, because I'm surrounded by, you know, for example, I'm in a mastermind now that's a year long, very expensive mastermind and business course. And we have meetings 3-4 times a week, which is a lot, plus all the course content. But, you know, the more that I dive into that and surround myself with other people who are very dedicated and very determined and very persistent, we help each other. Because on the days when I maybe don't want to be very motivated, I have friends in the group that, you know, they're connecting and saying, okay, here, we're going. So I think being part of a community and being connected to other people who are going in, you know, places and seeking growth are massive, like so important to be a part of, because they help you along when you don't feel like doing things, or they encourage you along when you're not super excited, or they inspire you to stay disciplined. And, you know, I'm working with people who are 7-figure business owners right now. And so it's like, okay, cool. I better wake up and I better get my butt moving, because if that's what I want, I see how they're operating, and we are creatures of social learning. So I see how they're going. So it's like, okay, I need to be doing that, and I need to start creating myself into that person who shows up as a 7-figure business owner every day.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than, you know, operating from where I'm at right now. What does a 7-figure business owner do? How do they operate their business? How do they show up? So that's something I think I work with my students as well on massively, is who do you want to be? Okay, just start doing that right now. You don't have to wait for all the riches to come to you, or whatever it is that you want, the perfect job and all of this kind of stuff. So yeah, that's something I'm really passionate about. So it keeps you going for sure.
Yeah. So we have a question. Alobe is saying, for 5 years, I have gone to study English. And the challenge is every time she drops in the middle. So what can we do? Is this really, can we really connect this? I know it's very hard to diagnose ADHD, but where's the line? Like, if we don't have self-discipline, or if we keep dropping and we don't reach the end goal, so is there any solution, or how do we really know if this is ADHD, related to ADHD, or lack of self-discipline?
Um, Yeah, that's a fine line, because I think with self-awareness and having the self-esteem and all of that kind of stuff, it just becomes easier to navigate everything else, like I mentioned. So it's kind of hard to say this is ADHD and this is not ADHD, because I know a lot of people who don't have ADHD, and they're very, very undisciplined people who have
Yeah.
no drive and they don't want to do anything. So it's kind of hard to say. But yeah, typically people with ADHD don't have, some people don't have motivation to keep going, but it's because you don't know how your brain is operating. You don't understand what works for you. You don't understand how the dopamine is performing in your brain. So I think the more educated that you are about yourself, if you feel like you have ADHD and maybe you don't have the resources to go get diagnosed, like pick up as many books as you can and read about things. Because even when I read books from people who have ADHD, or doctors and stuff like that, it's like, oh yeah, right, okay, I connect with that. So, you know, you don't need to be alone during the journey. There's a lot of Facebook groups, there's a lot of communities that you can connect with. So I always just highly recommend people to find a really positive and uplifting Facebook group. There's a lot of ones that can be negative, so I try and steer people away from going into those ones, or people who are talking about, you know, their problems a lot. There's a difference between connecting with somebody because you have the same stuff in common, rather than connecting on, oh, poor me, I can't do this, my life is a mess, blah, 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 blah. So there's so many resources out there that you can dive into to start exploring that for yourself. It's something that you think that you have. There's checklists, there's stuff all over the internet, but there's some really good good places to start. One of them is Dr. Ned Hallowell. He's a really good doctor for ADHD, and he's got a really positive perspective on it. So that's one place I would start. And obviously following my page, I have a lot of stuff too. So
cool. And for parents who are dealing with kids who have been, let's say they have been diagnosed with ADHD, would you say giving something as a gift, or would that be something right to do, or would you look at it as oh, this is another way to bribe your kids?
give me an example. What do you mean?
Yeah, let's say let's say that the kid is not being able to be focused to finish up his or her homework, and then you say, if you sit here for an hour, fully concentrate on your task and finish it up, then I can give you, you will get, like, for instance, something that the kid was asking, for instance, to play a Nintendo, or even get him a Nintendo. So give that in return of giving them encouragement, or forcing them in a way to concentrate.
Yeah, so I think just chunking down the tasks into really small things. You know, if there's a huge homework assignment, it's saying, okay, cool, right now we're just going to focus for 25 minutes or 15 or whatever it is. If the kid absolutely hates it, okay, cool, we're just going to do this for 15 minutes, and then we're going to, I don't know, play with Play-Doh or whatever it is. I don't know, build some Lego or something, and then we're going to go back and we're going to continue for 25 minutes.
So you think that would be fine for parents to give the kids something that they really want, indirectly forces them to really concentrate on their study or their task?
Yeah, a reward system. And I think also, if the child is diagnosed with ADHD, just explaining like, hey, your brain is super fast, you can do a lot of stuff with it. We're going to learn how, you know, what ways work for you best to learn. So teaching the kid about themselves, what how their brain actually operates in a really empowering, positive way, because I think so much of the literature is so negative and problem based, and I just hate reading it. There's a lot of websites I don't even visit that are like really well known ADHD publications, but I refuse to see them because it's so negative. So I think it's really important to teach them how their brain works, what works for them. So here, you know, we're just going to focus for 10 or 15 minutes, and then we're going to play for 5, and then we're going to go back in, or whatever it is. So I think definitely having some kind of reward system in place, whatever that looks like for the family and whatever the parents decide, is really good. But I think, yeah, I think that's awesome.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you're saying is positive enforcement. It really helps the children, that constantly, instead of telling them that, well, you know that you have ADHD, and making it something negative, you keep bringing up the positive part of it, that you're so smart and you're sharp because of that, your brain, you're a genius, you can do this. I seen that, like yesterday I was doing a session with someone, and I said to her, this is a mom, and she had really high background education, but ever since she's been married, she just left everything, and she really totally lost herself and her self-esteem. And yesterday, when I told her a few times that you are so sharp, you are so smart, she break into tears, and she says, how do you know that? I said, because I'm reading your brainwave, and I know that you. She says, oh my God, this is so against my upbringing, because my mom always put me down, and the younger sister is so much sharper and more expert. So I came out with this belief that I'm dumb and I'm not learnable. It's really hard. And just by giving her that and changing her belief, um, with positive enforcements and telling her that you are able and capable, she was like coming back into the program thinking that, yeah, I can start educating myself again. So positive enforcement, using the positive side of ADHD, you're saying, instead of the negative.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when I was younger, I got tested and, I just vividly remember the psychologist writing all the things that were wrong with me. Like nobody wants to hear what's wrong with them. We have enough problems that we need to deal with in the world today. And I think massively, seeing what the strengths are of yourself and ADHD and seeing, okay, this is what I need to work on, or these are my challenges, but by no means highlighting them, and just creating like a fun space, something that's light. Like, everybody wants to go and have fun. Like I want to come to work and have fun and create a fun business, and I want to connect with other people who know how to have fun and want to laugh. And so I think definitely, yeah, focusing on that aspect, having fun with them, lifting people up. Everything else in the world is so heavy, and yeah, so it's like, okay, let's help each other and lift each other up so that we can start moving forward and be more empowered, because everybody likes to receive a compliment, everybody likes to feel worthy, everybody likes to feel like they add value to somebody's life. And if you just keep reminding them of how awful it is to have ADHD, then how do you ever expect anybody to perform? So yeah, I think that's huge.
Awesome. So we both know that exercise changed the brain chemicals. So what would you recommend with someone with ADHD? How much activities do you think they need daily?
I like to try and move every single day. Maybe it's not a crazy workout, but it's just getting out of the house and going for a walk. So I really like intense exercise to burn off a lot of energy, but I think it looks different for everybody else. And I like to lift a lot of weights and, be aggressive when I'm working out, but that doesn't fit for everybody. I have a lot of clients who love yoga, dance. So there's a huge range of kind of activities that you can be involved in. Movement can be dancing around your house for, on your 5-minute break with some music on, or just getting out for a walk. So I think for people who are starting at baseline and they don't have any form of exercise that they like, or movement that they like, it's just getting curious about, okay, let's go try, this. And I think it's good online now. You can try anything in the comfort of your own home, and you don't have to be feeling like you're being judged by other people. There's free trials left, right, and center. So I do various forms of movement, and I think everybody is so different. So I have friends, she likes kite surfing. I have friends who, like dancing. And so there's not one size fits all. It's just exploring yourself and see what fits.
Yes. And how about alternative medicine or herbal stuff? Like, what do you think about CBD oil? What do you think about like GABA and adrenal support, or L-tyrosine, things, amino acids or stuff that gives a boost to your brain chemical? What do you think about that? Are you for it or not?
I honestly don't, I'm not that versed on it. I'm not that into it. For me, it's not something that I'm super interested in. I have clients who really like, CBD and that kind of stuff. So I can't really speak to that, but I'm open-minded to everything. If I felt really called to it, I would go and learn about it and educate myself on it. But I think, we all have, you can create whatever rule book you want for your life. If something works for you, go ahead, use it. If that is what works for you, just use that technique. So I have heard of a lot of people who are interested in alternative medicines that are more natural.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm open to it, definitely.
Fantastic. My experience has been, because I also work with supplements and herbal and homeopathic medicines or remedies for years. is that by CBD oil or like homeopathic stuff, or even like vitamin B complex and B12 and GABA and a lot of amino acids that they change the brain chemical has really helped out patients with their anxiety, and where their anxiousness, their body becomes a little more calm before we stage, because I from being capable or able to tame their mind and ego. So I feel like sometimes a little bit of CBD or a little bit supplement would help them at the beginning to calm them down enough that they're able to get into that practice of mindfulness and all that. So that has been my experience. I'm just sharing with you that things that are calming to the body, even like stuff like, because people are so inflamed this day, they have so much inflammation, like turmeric, herbs or stuff like turmeric or fennel or chamomile tea, or all of these are really helping to take down the inflammation, because the inflammation again is affecting, the brain chemical, or it makes people make people or stuff like ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is a herb that is used a lot in Indian medicine, like Ayurvedic, and I studied the Ayurvedic stuff. And my experience has been when people are using this stuff and the adrenal support, that the adrenal doesn't is not so active, and it calms down the cortisol and make the body more alkaline. Even greens, like a lot of juicing, and um, this stuff has been very helpful to people, and because a lot of people are so fired up. They have a liver that is so heat up, and with these herbs and that stuff, we calm down the herbs, we calm down the nerves, so people are more able to that calm down their mind. And then we do the breathing technique and other practices that I teach. So I just thought to put that out there, because I saw someone ask about alternative medicines and what would help with this. Are you familiar with San John wort? San John wort is a herb that has been used for depression. I think they did a major study about it like 60 years ago in Germany, and it's antidepressant that also calm down. But San John wort, it has to be taken, because you can mix that with other medications if people are using other stuff. So I was just going to ask you, are you familiar with San John wort? Because it's really used in alternative medicine for depression.
No, I have never heard of it before, but I'd be interested to
Yeah.
learn about it. Yeah.
Yeah, San John wort is, like I said, in order to use it, you have to be very careful, because it can interfere if people are using other medications. It can interfere with that, or especially we have other stuff like ginkgo biloba. Ginkgo biloba is written ginkgo, that it's helps so much with the memory.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
What's it called?
ginkgo, it's written ginkgo, Ginko, biloba, Biloba.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah,
It's written gink. Yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna read about this. It sounds interesting.
Yeah, it really helps with memory, but also ginkgo biloba, it's a blood thinner. So for
Okay.
people who have heart issues and stuff, so I believe, because I studied herbs, we can't just, self-medicate, because a lot of people think that, oh, these are herbal, so they're totally safe. I just want to open a window and talk, say this, that herbs can really affect your body. So you really have to be careful about what you're using and what is good for what. So people have to also, this is a part that I'm opening up, that people really educate themselves, because there are so many things. I mean, amino acids is kind of safe because, you know, protein, we get that through our food and that stuff, from the breakdown of protein. So amino acid, brain chain of amino acid, L-glutamine, L-glutathione, is kind of safe. But when it comes to some stuff like ginkgo biloba or St. John wort, we have to do more study.
Right.
So it was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much for having me on. I love your energy. I love connecting with you, and you have so much value to add. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah.
Same here. I would love to do another join with you in the future. It was a pleasure. I'm very grateful for having you on my live today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'd love to connect in the future, and we will chat soon. So thank you so much. I hope you have a beautiful day.
You too.
Thanks,
Bye
Sudi.
bye, love.
Bye.
Bye bye, love. Bye, everybody. Oopsie. Yes. Okay, so everyone, wasn't she amazing? I loved her. I also loved her energy. She was beautiful inside and outside. So I'm going to see you guys in a couple of days. Let me see. Our next topic is addiction. Yes, we're gonna have a few lives about addictions to addictions to medication, addiction to drugs, addictions to wrong relationships. Okay, so stay tuned. Please follow. Yes, about addiction, honey. Please follow me, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Sudi Burnett English, and follow, like, and share, and write a comments. Also, don't forget that Sahar said we need you guys to send us videos. We need longer comments. We need to be more interacting and engaging, much more than we are. And also remember, from today, 21-day challenge. Let's start it from tomorrow, guys, so you all on board, because some people might see this live later on. So we're going to start our 21-day challenge from tomorrow. What's the date today? January 19th. January 19th. Yes, for 21 days. Oh, which we're really going to get our physical body at the top notch that we have ever experienced it. Love and peace. See you guys soon. Bye bye. Goodbye, everyone.